Started my life over again. I gotta clean up what I messed up. Started my life over again. Those of you that feel like I do, let's do better. Those of you that feel like I do, let's do better. I gotta clean up what I messed up. Started my life over again. I gotta clean up what I messed up. Started my life over again. Those of you that feel like I do, let's do better. Those of you that feel like I do, let's do better. I gotta clean up what I messed up. Started my life over again. I gotta clean up what I messed up. Started my life over again. Anybody ever been to the moment where you just want this thing? Oh, yeah. Something about the name Jesus. Something about the name Jesus. It's the sweetest thing. I sweetest name. It is the sweetest name. I know. Come on, I know. If you really love it.
Amen. Something about the name of Jesus. It is the sweetest name I know. What we got today, we're going to look at, and I want to thank my brother from my sister church in Fort Myers, but he's one of your homeboys, amen, but all doing a good work. A rattler and very productive, amen. Brother Willie Earl Sparrow, I want to thank you, sir, amen. He's in town, he comes and worships with us, and we appreciate him. And he's mentoring Jamal Force, he's a minister of music, amen, in Fort Myers. And we want to thank him for coming and worshiping with us today. The scripture today is 1 Kings chapter 22, verses 10 through 28. 1 Kings chapter 22, verses 10 through 28. This is what the scripture says. King Ahab of Israel and King Jehoshaphat of Judah, dressed in their royal robes, were sitting on thrones at the threshing floor near the gate of Samaria. All of Ahab's prophets were prophesying there in front of them. One of them, Zedekiah, son of Kenaniah, made some iron horn that proclaimed, "This is what the Lord says, with these horns you will bore the Arameans to death." All the other prophets agreed. Yes, they said, "Go up to Ramoth Gilead and be victorious, for the Lord will give you victory." Meanwhile, the messenger who went to get Micaiah said to him, "Look, all the prophets are promising victory for the king. Be sure that you agree with them and promise success." But Micaiah replied, "As surely as the Lord lives, I will say only what the Lord tells me to say." When Micaiah arrived before the king, Ahab asked him, "Micaiah, should we go to war against Ramoth Gilead or not?" Micaiah replied, Go right ahead. The Lord will give you the king a glorious victory." But the king replied sharply, "How many times must I demand that you speak only the truth when you speak for the Lord?" So Micaiah told him, "In a vision I saw all Israel scattered on the mountains like sheep without a shepherd, and the Lord said, 'The master has been killed, send them home in peace.' Didn't I tell you?" The king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, he does it every time. He never prophesies anything but bad news for me." Then Micaiah continued, "Listen to what the Lord says. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne with all the armies of heaven around him on his right and his left. And the Lord said, 'Who can entice Ahab to go into battle against Ramoth Gilead so that he can be killed there?' There were many suggestions until finally a spirit approached the Lord and said, 'I can do it.' 'How will you do this?' the Lord asked. And the spirit replied, 'I will go out and inspire all Ahab's prophets to speak lies. You will succeed,' said the Lord. 'Go ahead and do it.'" So you see, the Lord has put a lying spirit in the mouth of your prophets. For the Lord has determined disaster for you. Then Zedekiah, son of Kenaniah, walked up to Micaiah and slapped him across the face. "When did the Spirit of the Lord lead me to speak to you?" he demanded. And Micaiah replied, "You will find out soon enough when you find yourself hiding in some secret room." And King Ahab of Israel then ordered to arrest Micaiah and take him back to Ammon, the governor of the city, and to my son Joash. Give them this order from the king: "Put this man in prison and feed him nothing but bread and water until I return safely from battle." And finally in verse 28, but Micaiah replied, "If you return safely, the Lord has not spoken through me." Then he added to those standing around, "Take more of what I have said." And actually, in my version, he said, mark my words. Title of today's word is mark my words. Mark my words. The phrase mark my words means listen to what I say now. I am sure it will turn out to be true. This is normally said when one knows he or she will be doubted. I think certain people consistently are deprived of the abundance of the promises of God because of their inability to discern faulty and unwise counsel. Many of our communities are handicapped by inadequate leadership and spooky fathership. Say that again. Many of our communities are handicapped by inadequate leadership and spooky fellowship. God has placed the church to be powerful and to be a light in our communities. To help people become all that God has ordained for them to be. But there are many that are leading our churches that are inadequate as it relates to being able to lead a great army of God's people to better. And we're also handicapped by spooky fellowship. We made the church into this spooky thing. We so spiritual, we heard no earthly good. We'll pray till the walls come down, but won't do nothing. We do things that don't make sense and expect God to bless. We jump and shout and run all over the place, speak in tongues. And everybody in the church credit to her. Spooky. Ain't nothing spooky about paying your bill. Ain't nothing spooky about being responsible and honoring your word. God gives us a word to go and apply it in this life. Ain't nothing spooky about that. No. We turn this thing into some swing. You study to show yourself approved and then go and do what God has called you to do. Amen. 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 But our communities are tore up. Got folk in church on a Friday night giving their last an offering, trying to make sure they get the chance to come down when a certain amount is called so everybody can see it. Knowing the light bill is past due. Spooky. Trying to impress God. That's what I call spooky fellowship. You sit there and listen to a man or woman promise all this stuff and you know you got responsibility. But they promising you all the things of God. What you need to go do is ask to see their credit report. How can they need you if they lack toward? Amen. A leader goes where he's asking people to follow. Amen. How can I be responsible? I'm hiding my car from the car dealership. How can I teach you to be responsible? If my health poor because of my eating habits, how can I lead you into a healthier lifestyle? I'm creeping around and I'm tipsy. And how I got all this stuff going on in my life. I got scandals going on in my life. How can I help you to improve your life? But for some strange reason, people follow that kind of foolishness. That's why I call it spooky fellowship, because it don't make sense. But people follow it because they can possibly preach, or because they are charismatic, and people follow somebody who ain't going nowhere. Inadequate leadership, the spooky fellowship is our biggest problem. No, it don't feel good, but it is good. Some medicine I used to take, it was just horrible. You just try to, as soon as you take it, drink something sweet or something, and follow it up real quick, because it was just horrible. Y'all ever had people just make y'all take medicine, y'all ain't even sick? What, you think my bowels gonna need moving? That's why I'm taking this casserole? I mean, it just makes you just take stuff. But apparently it was good for you because it worked. But it sure was nasty. And some of the stuff I'm saying today gonna be nasty going down. But it'll be good for you. Because we can't really deal. You know, you can try to fix outside forces, but it does no good to fix outside forces if the inside still tore. Amen. We got to learn to do better. That's it. Amen. We got to stop falling folk off a cliff. We got to stop supporting foolishness. Amen. If we expect different. All right. Some people are just so used to mediocrity to where mediocrity becomes the norm. They think they're doing good because they're mediocre. But today I come to push you. Try a little something different. My children can tell you I push. I told Jamal is a gifted musician. But I've been telling Jamal I was having a problem with Earl. We didn't have the kind of musicians like you around here. I was catching it with musicians around here. And so I said, you know what? I can't keep wondering. I need somebody that's committed to ministry. All right. And so I told my son, he had been in the drums for when he was 4 years old. I was pastoring this little church, and he had a problem moving around in church, and so we didn't have no drums. And so I said, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna buy him a set of drums at the house. He's gonna learn how to. He's gonna learn on the job. They had nothing anywhere. We were doing clapping our hands there, so I'm gonna put him on them drums and let him use all that energy on them drums. All right. And that's how he started playing. His first instrument was a set of drums in Jasper that we put when he was 4 years old. Put him on there and say, now you learn, 5 years old, you learn how to play these drums. Bought him a little set at home so he can practice. Gifted. And all of a sudden he was playing football up to that point, but then all of a sudden he really started liking these instruments, and then he gets in the band in middle school, and he played. When we arrived in St. Paul in 2007, he was still playing drums. And he stayed on drum, but musicians started really taking me through here. And so I told him, I said, Jamal, I'm gonna give you a year. I said, we're gonna go hire an extra drummer. I need you to go and sit over, and I need you to learn how to play that keyboard. I'm gonna give you a year, because that's how long I'm gonna keep this musician I got. And that musician didn't even last 6 months. And we put Jamal on, I think it was about 2011, 2012, I don't know when it was. Put him on there. Very gifted. But sometimes sometimes he like being mediocre. Gifted, could be the greatest in the world, but sometimes Jamal not driven to be the greatest. And so his daddy had to push him. And he'd tell you, I push. A couple weeks ago, I told him, I said, okay, I've been telling you to get on that organ. You won't play that organ. So for now, until I say differently, The keyboard is off limits. You can't play the keyboard no more. And so, now Jamal is up on that organ. Because he can do it. Sometimes we just need a push. And there's some things in our community I believe sometimes we can do. But sometimes we need a push. Sometimes we find we're just mediocre, but God has promised so much more. Some of our children could have so much more better, so much better in their lives, but because we're satisfied with mediocre, we allow them to stay exactly where they are. Oh, the every occasional D and the C is fine. But they really got some A's in them. But we're fine because the grades you get, it'll get you to the next grade. And we just push them on through and push them. But they have so much more inside of them, but we don't push them. There's some folk in here right now that you really were supposed to be, by now, you were supposed to be running things on your job. But because you just kind of just sat and just cruised on, got along to get along, and didn't push it, you seen people come in and pass you. Not because they're smart, because you train them. You train them. But they just moved on by, and you complain, but you still right where you are. At a place of mediocrity. Because you needed to find a way to pull out what God had in you. And so today, as we look at the scripture, we're going to look at this in two ways. We're going to look at it in the church, in our community, in three ways, and in our own personal lives. Verses 10 through 12, let me show you what happened. It says, King Ahab of Israel and King Jehoshaphat of Judah, dressed in their royal robes, were sitting on thrones at the threshing floor near the gate of Samaria. All of Ahab's prophets were prophesying there in front of them. This is the king. Two kings sit there in their royal attire, and all of their prophets sit in front of them prophesying. And verse 11 goes on and says, one of them, Zedekiah, son of Kenaniah, he made some iron horns. You know, he head prophet in charge. And so he goes and make an iron horn, and he really wants to impress the kings. And he says, and this is what the Lord says. And with these horns you will gore the Arameans to death. You know, he's head prophet in charge. And so he gets out there and he said he wants to be a little bit louder than the other prophets. And so he gets him a horn and blows the horn. This is what's going to happen. With these horns, you're going to gore your enemy, the Arameans, to death. He said, he's really pumping up the kings. And then he goes on in verse 12, and he says, and all the other prophets, they agreed. They fell in line and said, yes, they said, go up to Ramoth Gilead and be victorious, for the Lord will give you victory. It's a good feeling for a prophet of God, someone that speaks for God, to tell you that you're going to be victorious. But it's a bad thing when prophets pander to kings. That's a bad thing. When prophets, God didn't put prophets in this earth to pander to kings. God put prophets in this earth to speak truth to kings. God put prophets in this earth to guide and direct kings on what's right and what's wrong. But it's a sad story when prophets begin to pander to kings. And the prophets, they began to pander to the king. They had this one, they sit there prophesying, tell the kings exactly what they want to hear. You're the greatest, and you're going to be victorious. Another one comes out and blows a horn and says, with this horn, you're going to defeat and gore your enemy. And the other said, yes, we agree, you will be victorious. The prophets, they were pandering to the king. And you know, today we have preachers. I watched one time on the news. You had a bunch of preachers pandering to the president, all sitting around a table, telling a joker who ain't no good. And I'm sorry, I know what you're supposed to say about the president, but to whom much is given, much is required. I can't honor you if you ain't worthy of honor. And you had a bunch of prophets that had the opportunity to speak truth to the king. And he thinks he's won. But they sat there and pandered. Everybody talked about how great he is and how great he's done and how great this and how great that and how great that. And then want to make excuses when they have to come back and face the people. No, you pandered. You sat there and you agreed. You had opportunities where you could have said, you know, this needs to be addressed, this needs to be addressed, this needs to be changed, but you pandered to the king. It's a sad story when prophets pander to the king. Right here in St. Augustine, we could be so much better off. Communities could be so much better off. But right here in St. Augustine, we have so many prophets that are dependent on handouts from the king. We have so many prophets that are dependent on being loved or liked by the king. We have so many prophets that can't stand on their own because they have not put in the work to make the ministry thrive and to be able to be dependent upon God and God only, that they are dependent and they can't upset the king. And so they pander to the king. Tell the king whatever the king wants to hear. No, it's not going to be a fun sermon, but it's going to be a real sermon. And then we wonder why is it that our best and brightest, that when the first thing they can think about when they're about to graduate is, I got to get out of here. If I'm going to be successful, I have to get out of here. Why are they comparing here with a lack of progress? Because those that have the ability to speak to those in authority, they pander to kings. They let people be a part of our important pieces of our community just because they hold an office. No, y'all gonna find out on Monday night. They called me up and I said, Reverend Rawls, will you host district conference? And I said, yeah, I'll do that. That's what we do in February. Y'all know we hosted. I had originally told them to find somebody else, but they said, no, we need you. So I said, yeah, I'll do it. But I ain't satisfied with none of the kings or queens here. And so normally when I have them come and greet, ain't nobody coming to this church to greet nobody. Unless some major changes happen before, because I'm not impressed with not one of them. And will not pander to those in authority. Just to be accepted. But there's some that they need the pats on the back. They need somebody to tell them that they're great. Now, if you're great, then your gifts will make room for you. Nobody has to tell you you're great. When you're great, your gifts will make room for you. When you're anointed, God will open up doors that nobody has. Can I tell you something? That property over there that they tried to take away from us, and we stood there flat-footed and said, you will not take it away. We are not afraid of you. We're not back off from you. Can I tell you that when God opened up that door, that we paid 0 cents for that property? That property was more of a liability, but we took it when nobody else wanted because we saw what God would do. And then once we saw it and people began to see what it is, they could understand why would they take a liability like that? And then once we took it and began to speak our vision, then other folks saw what we had and realized they had something of value. But because they're stupid, I don't respect them, I'm going to find a way to take it. But when God's on your side, nobody can do nothing about it. And can I tell you now, when folk ride across here now, some of the very same folk that work to try to take the property fund from us, they had to come to us to rent it for the Lake Bill Festival. That's what God will do for you. But you have to know who you are. And you can't pander to folk. The blessings come from God. Blessings don't come from mayors, commissioners. The blessings that come from people. The blessings come from God. And here you have these prophets that are pandering, but what they don't realize is they're hurting their community. They're hurting Israel. They're hurting the church because they're pandering to the king when the kings need to hear truth. And it says that they pandered to the king, but in verse 13 the scripture goes on, and the scripture says, meanwhile the messenger who went to get Micaiah said to him, there was one of the prophets that was not there, Among all the prophets that were telling the kings how good you are, telling the kings how great they are, there was one of the prophets that was not there. The messenger who went from the king, who went to go get Micaiah, said to him, because they knew that Micaiah didn't have a track record of telling them what they wanted to hear. And they were hearing everything, everybody. They heard what Reverend so-and-so said. They heard what Bishop so-and-so said. They heard what Apostle so-and-so said. They heard what Prophet so-and-so said. They heard what Missionary so-and-so said. They heard what Deacon so-and-so said. But they knew there was this one prophet that had not spoken and wanted to see if this prophet would fall in line. And said the messenger went to go get Micaiah and said to him, all your other prophet brothers and sisters, they're promising victory for the king. Be sure that you agree with them and promise success. The messenger went and got Micaiah and said to Micaiah, he instructed him, I need you to go and follow suit. I need you to sing and dance just like the other prophets. I need you to, when they say go to the left and go to the right, I need you to fall in line and fall in suit with the other prophets. But in verse 14, Micaiah said to him, he said, as surely as the Lord lives, I will only speak what the Lord has to say. You can say what you want, but as surely as the Lord lives, there's no permitting that I need from you, that I'm going to tell you what you want and withhold truth, because I need permitting. There's nothing that you can offer me. There's no repairs that you can offer to my ministry. There's no check that you can offer to my ministry. There's no job that you can offer to my membership. There's nothing that you can offer. I'll tell you something here in St. Augustine. There was a time in 2014 when we realized that the black employment was so low, it was so ridiculous that the media took it up. And we embarrassed the commissioners. We embarrassed the mayor by making it public. They began to work with us. I put a team of about 4 together, and they worked with us for 3 years. And for 3 years, we doubled the black employment in the city. We added black firefighters and black police officers. But there came a time when they said, when they began to threaten, and when I wouldn't work with them and cause issues concerning Confederate monuments, that they were not going to work with me anymore. And they thought that some kind of way that because I could call it them now and get them to hire someone that's capable, not just anybody, but the best and the brightest. I shouldn't have had to call in the first place. You should have had a system in order that people had an opportunity to get a job. But they made me feel like I had a little bit of power. And now that you're stirring up all of this foolishness, if you keep it up, we're going to end the accountability group. And I said, you know what? I don't care. Do what you want to do, because in the end, God will be glorified. And you know what I've learned? That those in charge will try to get you to follow suit when following suit is not in the best interest of your people. And Micaiah replied, he said, as long as the Lord lives, I'm going to speak what the Lord says. There's nothing that you can do for me that's worth sacrificing my integrity. Anybody been there before? Somebody say yeah. Somebody say yeah. Have you ever been on your job when people tried to get you to compromise your integrity? People tried to get you to compromise your name. But you said, you know what? I only have one name. I was born with this name. I'm going to die with this name. And it's my responsibility to keep this name good. And so if you got to withhold from me because I won't compromise my name, do what you're going to do. But can I tell you, I know the God that I serve, he doesn't need you to put me in a place of high stature. I serve a God that can pick me up, turn me around, and place my feet on solid ground. In verses 15 through 17, the king asked him, when Micaiah arrived before the king, Ahab asked him, Micaiah, should we go to war against Ramoth Gilead or not? So he's already seen the other prophets tell him he's going to be victorious. But he needed to get confirmation from a prophet that normally spoke truth. But he realized that his messengers already told him. Now when the king asks you, you know what to tell him. He asked him, he said, should I go out to fight against Ramoth Gilead or not? And Micaiah, he replied, it says, in a sarcastic manner. Y'all know how sarcastic folk are. Say, should I go out and do this? They said, well, go ahead if you want to. But you caught it in their voice that they don't believe that you ought to do it. And so Micaiah said, go right ahead. The Lord will give you the king of glorious victory. But he realized the sarcasm that was in his voice. And so verse 16, in hearing that sarcasm, it said the king, he replied sharply, how many times must I demand that you speak the truth to me? You playing game with me because you feel like I'm not going to listen in the first place. I need you to lie to me. That's essentially what he's saying. I need you to lie to me like you telling me the truth. Y'all see it going on today. Folk will lie to you like they telling you the truth. And the king said, Micaiah, I need you to speak it to me like you believe it. And then verse 17, he goes on and says, so Micaiah told him, he said in a vision, if you really want to know what I saw, in a vision, I saw all Israel scattered. What does Israel represent? It represents the church or the community of God. He says, I saw the people of God, and they were scattered on the mountains like sheep without a shepherd, walking around with no place and looking lost. And when I look at our communities, I see sheep walking around scattered like without a shepherd. When I look at our schools, I see children that look like sheep without a shepherd. No purpose, no reason, just there. Somebody say yeah. Somebody say yeah. Even when I look in church, I see people that are scattered, looking like sheep without a shepherd. Come to church looking confused because their nightlife does not look like the scripture that are preached in church. Why am I going through all the things that I go through when every Sunday morning in church I sing about something different, I see something different, I speak something different, I talk about good marriages in church and my marriage is tore from the floor. Talk about raising children in the church when my children are tore from the floor. Talking about peace that surpasses all understanding, and I gotta take medication because of my anxiety and my stress. He said, Micaiah told him, I saw the people of God, they were scattered on the mountains, looking like sheep without a shepherd. And the Lord said, their master has been killed. Send them home in peace. You hear what he's saying? He said, King, oh King, what God showed me is the people that are following you. I saw a vision where they were walking around scattered like sheep without a shepherd because you had been killed. What is he saying? He's telling the king that everybody that lied to you, that's not what God's showing me. Can I tell you that the king, he asked for truth, and Micaiah spoke truth in his life. Verse 18 says, it says, Micaiah told him, the king says, didn't I tell you, the king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, he does it every time I want him to speak truth, and then he tells me how messed up I am, how much I'm doing wrong. He doesn't sit down and tell me how great I am. When I talk about immigrants, he calls me out. When I talk about black countries, he calls me out. When I talk about women, he calls me out. I need some coons like the ones sitting around the table that'll tell me I'm great, even though they know I'm lying. Somebody say yeah. Somebody say yeah. Some prophets of churches, they'll lie just to get a grant. Some prophets of some churches, they'll lie just to get a building erected on their campus. But I tell you, Jehoshaphat says, he said, every time I talk to that prophet, he never prophesies anything good to me. It's always bad. What am I saying to you? If God is prophesying that you need to clean up what you messed up, fix you because God has decided to bring you down. Somebody say yeah. Somebody say yeah. When they asked who can go and bring the king down, there were many suggestions. There are a lot of folk in high places that don't realize that the folk around you are only around you so they can eat. Don't care about you. There's a little rapper called Takashi 6ix9ine. This young fella, he's a bad boy. He's a tough boy. And he talks about how he can't be touched, how everybody respects him and nobody will touch him. He told noise to the Bloods. He told noise to the Crips. He told noise to everybody. Said nobody can touch him. But what he didn't realize is that the only reason you're on top of the world is because folk are there to be fed. And when you can't feed no more, they'll scatter. Somebody say yeah. Somebody say yeah. Bible said, and he says, who can go and entice Ahab to go into battle? What he didn't realize is that going into battle was simply a trick to get him killed. The false prophets, they were simply working to get him killed. Somebody say yeah. Somebody say yeah. The scripture goes on in verse 21, and it says, then finally your spirit approach the Lord and say, God, I can do it. I can entice the king to go into battle so he can be killed. 22 says, how will you do this? The Lord asked, and the spirit replied, I will go out and inspire all the Ahab's prophets to speak lies. You will succeed, said the Lord. Go ahead and do it. What am I saying? A lion spirit came to God and says, God, he trusts the prophets, but I know the prophets, many of them are selfish and only into what they can get out the deal. I'm going to put a lion spirit in the mouth of the prophet, and they'll tell him that he's great. He'll get the big head and go into a war that he should have never went in. Somebody say yeah. 23 goes on, and it says, so you see that the Lord has put a lion spirit in the mouth of the prophets. What am I saying to you? They might not want to hear it, might not like it, but the Lord in the city of St. Augustine has put a lion spirit in the mouth of the prophets. I don't have to worry about them not liking me, because they don't like me anyway. But there's a lion spirit that the prophets of God are speaking to those in authority, telling them it's okay, you're great, there's nothing wrong with you. Somebody say yeah. Somebody say yeah. But he said, you know what? That the Lord has determined disaster preacher. I ain't got to argue with you, Mr. Methodist preacher. I ain't got to argue with you, Mr. Catholic priest. I ain't got to argue with you, Mr. Pentecostal pastor. I ain't got to argue with you, but soon enough, you gonna find out when you find yourself trying to hide. Somebody say yeah. Somebody say yeah. Verse 26, King Ahab of Israel, in the order, arrest Micaiah, arrest him, take him back to Ammon, take him back, and when you get him back there, in verse 27, don't give him bread and water, give him nothing good, make him suffer, push him out from the group, push him out from the group. See, let me explain something to you. The lying prophets, they benefit. The churches ain't blessing nobody. All they talk about is spooky stuff. Folks still messed up. Folks still jacked up. But all they run around and do, have concerts, have revivals, want to jump around, but ain't helping nobody do better. Got folks keeping their children in the church to 10:30 at night on a school night. Children falling out of school, but all the lying prophets, all they care about is what they get out the deal. But when God calls a prophet to be a sheep to the shepherd cares for the sheep. The shepherd does not put the sheep in harm. Somebody say yeah. Somebody say yeah. Verses 24 through 27, the prophets got mad. The prophets got physical, and they turned on Micaiah. But I thank God that in verse 28, Micaiah's response to the other prophets was time will prove who the true prophet is and who the bystanders are. He said in 28, when Micaiah replied, if you return safely, you put me in jail right now. But I already prophesied, you gonna die in this war. I already prophesied, you won't live if you go to the right. And he says, if you return home safely, he says, I tell you what, God has not spoken, because I spoke a word in the name of Jesus that you will die. Somebody say yeah. You will not survive. Somebody say yeah. And if you make it back from this war, God has not spoken. Then he added, look to those standing around. I need for everybody that's looking at me now. I need for everybody that's judging me now. I need for everybody that's doubting me now. I need for everybody that's here now. I need you to mark my words. Listen to what I said. If it don't happen, I'm a liar. If it don't happen, I'm not a prophet. But if he get killed out there in the war, you better know that I'm a prophet of God. Somebody say yeah. Somebody say yeah. In 1 Kings chapter 22, verses 33 through 38, the charioteers, they realized that he was not the king of Israel, and they stopped straight chasing him. Goes on, because what happened? Ahab tried to get somebody else to put on his robe, but they realized that the one I'm chasing is not the king. They stopped chasing, and the Aramean soldiers, however randomly, they just shot an arrow in the air at the Israelite troops. Thousands of troops, one king. Thousands of the army, but one king. And the arrow hit the king between the joints of his armor. He said, get me out of here. Ahab groaned to the ground of his chariot. I've been fatally wounded. Somebody say yeah. 35 goes on. It says the battle raged all day, and Ahab was propped up
what? He died. He died. Oh yes, he died. He died because God said it. He died because he took advantage of God's people. Somebody say that. Just as the sun was setting the ground, he ran out to his shoes. It's all over. Return home. So the king died and his body was taken to Samaria and buried there. 38 says, then his chariot was washed beside the pool of Samaria, where the prostitutes stayed, and the dogs came, and they licked the dead king. They licked his blood, just as the Lord has promised. What am I saying? What I'm saying is that Scripture declares that God is not a man that he should lie. Scripture declares that God does not have to fear the king of this earth. God declares, and it happened. Somebody say yeah. Somebody say yeah. The Scripture says that heaven and earth shall all pass away, but God's word will last forever. What am I saying? When prophets pander to king, it won't work. When prophets pander to the authority, it won't work. When prophets are selfish and misuse the people for their own benefit, it won't work. You can mark my words. Somebody say yeah. Somebody say yeah. Evil will not prosper. You can mark my words. A lie will not prevail. You can mark my words. But while you're marking my words concerning the king, I want you to mark some words concerning the saints of God. For the Bible declares that no weapon formed against us shall prosper. You can mark my words. The Bible declares you're the head and not the tail. You can mark my words. The Bible declares he was wounded for your transgressions. He was bruised for your iniquity. The chastisement of peace is upon his shoulder, and by his stripes you're healed. God says you're healed. You can mark